There's nothing like being behind the scenes. I love being in the green room. When I wore green for all of you, I always say, Shay, there is no green room, okay? Well, no, I've got green on. That means there is a green room and it exists. And I'm in it right now. And when we have these behind the scenes conversations, Susan, I'm not going to read this long bio or we'd be here probably a couple days. What I like to do is just you and I and 10,000 plus people who are eavesdropping on our conversation. Tell me a little about who is Susan Lindner and what are you up to these days?
Whew. Uh, let's see. I am an anthropologist.
Mhm.
I'm a brand marketer. I'm a disruptor. And above all else, I'm an innovation storyteller. What am I up to these days? Well, in the land of COVID, there is a good binge watching, good binging, just foodie, being a foodie. And I think finally getting to explore the inside and the outside of my neighborhood, meaning I'm walking like a crazy woman all over town. And I'm really getting to see a different side of life around here, just getting to see my neighbors, people you don't see every day of the week. So, which is terrific.
I love it. You mentioned the word disruptor, and
Mm.
disruptor means different things to different people. And I know we're going to get into this wonderful conversation around storytelling, but can you give us your definition of what is a disruptor, at least from your view of the world, so we kind of understand it?
So, a disruptor is someone who takes standard operating procedure and finds a new way of changing how we do things so that we can never go back to doing it the old way again. A disruptor is someone who sees either through a business model, through a new product or service, uh, a new means of operations, or even a new means of marketing to take us to a place that we have never been before and transport us into a future that we couldn't see before that innovator showed up and disrupted what is our normal day to day.
Hmm. Now you mentioned COVID-19 as we were getting started, which is very serious. I understand that. I've lost family members to COVID-19. My team's been impacted. A lot of things have happened. So I know it's very serious. But my question to you is during this time, how has this impacted someone like you who speaks on stages? You're part of the National Speakers Association. You're an entrepreneur, and if you don't mind, I know you're going to talk about storytelling, and later on you're gonna learn some great ideas on how people can tell stories. But right now, what type of conversation are you having with your clients around COVID-19, and then what type of conversation, if you don't mind letting us in on the good stuff, are you having with your colleagues? Because these are very challenging times.
It really is, and I'll take you back a little bit. Before I became a brand marketer, I was an epidemiologist at the Centers for Disease Control doing AIDS research.
Wow.
So that was my very last job before getting into PR, marketing, branding, social media, storytelling. So I feel back to my roots in a way of understanding what's going on from an epidemic level and really how a virus can transform a society. And I would say that, HIV and AIDS, that was for me at least my first experience of what a disruptive uh, technology, right? A virus is a technology that gets inside of our bodies and changes us from the inside. It's a living, breathing thing that changes us. So now in the era of COVID, we are experiencing, I mean, me personally, like you, I'm so sorry for your loss. 5 friends have lost a parent or a spouse to COVID. So that personal disruption, when you see it then on a global scale, if you can stop for a minute and reflect, there's a global pain, right, that is pervading our society right now. And the way it changed me was, watching 14 speaking opportunities evaporate over the course of 3 days, right? So my Q1, my Q2, Q3, Q4 suddenly disrupted. But that's a small thing compared to what's really going on in the lives of our customers, and maybe even our colleagues when we see that COVID is taking away a security blanket of what we thought we knew. and to suddenly be in a new place where we don't know what that next step is, that next new unfolding. It's challenging to us because it challenges our faith. It challenges our ability to understand what's coming next for ourselves before our family. And it also challenges us to try to make a plan because it feels like we don't know how to take the next right step. And oftentimes that next step and faith come together. And you can call that a higher power or not, but it's just having faith to know if you do make a step that you won't fall.
Yeah, that's so powerful. So you talked about your schedule, kind of 14 speaking opportunities. What's up? Cheryl Graham is out there watching. She says hello, by the way. Carol's out there. Good to see you. Beth, thanks a lot. You guys are really in for a treat because she's going to be talking about this innovative type of storytelling and how to really use it in your business. I'm hoping you can use it in your life. And I'm going to ask you that question. But first, before we get started, we got a show. How did you deal with the change and shift that's taking place? How do you really control your mindset during the day, and how do you control your belief systems?
Yeah. So first thing was a recognition of energy levels. I don't know how you felt at the beginning. At the beginning, I felt like, wow, this is great. I get a pause button. I don't have to be on a plane. I don't have to fight the TSA for the tiny little shampoo bottles that are on the bottom of my suitcase. Like I can actually have a life, right? With my people, my family, my colleagues around me. I felt like I was getting so much done.
Yeah.
Super productive. And then as you start to realize that this is going on, and maybe this is going to become the new normal, and maybe now it's terrifying to go to the supermarket. Maybe it's hard to go and visit your mom. Then suddenly the fear starts to creep in, and fear plays havoc on energy levels. So some days I felt like I was 110% productive, and some days I felt like curling up on my bed and watching 4 hours of Law and Order. That change in productivity was a big shift. And so finally trying to regulate energy was really important. And then looking around at examples. So who was doing it right? Who was doing it well? And who was doing not so well, right? There's the cautionary tale and there's the opportunistic tale. And we go, who do I want to follow right now? And so looking for those guideposts of people who could say, okay, who are leaders in helping me to regulate my energy, staying productive, people who are innovating, who are saying, okay, I can't be on a stage. You know what? I'm going to build a stage in my basement, like my friend Amy Weininger did. Or I'm going to get every ring light, every camera, everything to recreate the best possible virtual experience I can for my clients. Or maybe I'm going to sit down and write that book, fill up those blogs, start that podcast, whatever that next new thing is. And I think as humans, the resilience factor is the thing that we want most in times like this. Man. Is how do I find my strengths and my resiliency? And those become some of the best stories as we emerge from COVID, is how is my resiliency during this time, right? Because Darwin said it wasn't survival of the fittest, it was the survival of those who could adapt to the times that were the fittest.
Adapt to the times and tell those stories. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a show to get going. When we come back, don't worry, I'm going to answer that question. How do you really tell stories? How do you use that as part of your platform for your business? And more importantly, how does innovation go into storytelling? And it's kind of like, it's like an oxymoron, isn't it? But don't worry, when we get back, we're going to find out. We got to get going. What's up, Sherry Wallace? Thanks for joining. Corey, you're at the right place. Corey Kupfer is on. Thanks for joining. LaToya, thanks for being here. Cheryl Graham, Tiffany Hall, Michael, we got to get going in 5. This is my favorite part, by the way. 4, we're about to kick the show off. 3, 2, 1. You know what? It's showtime. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen, and you're going to learn. Promise I made to my mom. I only did this message for one person, and that's my mom. This is for you, Mom. Love you. My name is Shay Brown, the happy entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Shay Brown.
Mic check, mic check.
All I do is win, no matter what.
Yeah.
And they stay there, and they stay there, and they stay there. Cause all I do is win.
Well, it's a great day. My name is Shay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur, and welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the #1 business development and revenue-focused late-night show in the country where we're on a mission. And our mission is to empower, our mission is to inspire, and our mission is to provide you, that's right, you, the entrepreneur, with all of the resources that are necessary to execute that big vision you have for the people you were called to serve. And I believe you really have 3 visions, by the way. I believe first you have a vision for yourself. You know, the car you want to drive, the restaurants that one day you'll go to again and have white tablecloths, right? The organic food I know you're ordering right now online to your house. It takes resources, which means it takes revenue, right? The second vision I believe you have is you have a vision for your loved ones, the ones you care the very most about. I'm blessed that Mother Dear is still here. My father's no longer here. He passed away May 2nd, 2017. But Mother Dear is here. She's 15 minutes away. And yet, when I couldn't go there, I could knock at the door and leave groceries at the door. Now she knows how to order online. Yeah, she's having a lot more fun. It takes resources, especially when it's your credit card, right? But it's not about me. You want to write a check for a loved one. You want to pay for their healthcare insurance. You want to send your kids to a school of your choice. It takes resources, which means it takes revenue. And I believe the third vision you have is you have right now the vision for the people you were called to serve. And whether you're a believer or not, I happen to be a believer, there's this Bible, and inside the Bible, there's a story of a guy named Noah. And Noah's been given all the resources, given the experience from God. He's been given the expertise for God. And he has to go do this, right? And imagine you're Noah. And right before you get started, there's this knock at the door. You're like, what's going on? Excuse me, Noah. Excuse me, pardon me. We're here to report real quick that there's no hammers in the house, okay? No hammers. All right, no hammers. That's cool. We don't worry. What are they back again? Excuse me, no, sorry the body, sorry. There's no nails either, okay? All right, no hammer, no nails. Rule number 1 is what? Don't panic, don't panic. No, I promise you, this is the last time we're gonna bother you. There's no wood and there's no team to put the boat together. Good luck on this mission. And maybe that's you right now. Storytelling, PR, branding, it's the missing piece. And this morning, this evening, this afternoon, the one and only Susan Lindner is here to help us. So let me welcome Susan. What's going on, Susan? How are you?
I'm fantastic, Jay. Thank you for having me on.
Well, welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show. Look, you've got this phrase you coined, innovation storytelling. Some of you don't even know what that even means. Okay, we get storytelling intellectually, but then you got this innovation in front of us. So can you frame the conversation around what we'll be discussing and talking about and how it relates to the entrepreneur that's out there watching right now?
Yeah. So let's get really clear about what storytelling is, right?
Okay.
Innovation to one side for just a second. Storytelling is the art and science of understanding how humans receive information. So anything that you've ever learned, anything that you've ever heard is taught to you predominantly through story. It's the way that wisdom passes from our grandfathers to sons. It's the secret recipes and the understanding that we get of who we are in the world from our mothers and fathers and the teachers all around us, whomever they may be. Storytelling is how the human brain is hardwired to receive information. So anything that you've learned and then passed on to another human, chances are you've done it through story, because that's how we best receive information. Our brains are not computers. We don't take information easily from an Excel spreadsheet. We tune out very quickly to a PowerPoint. And so our brain is hardwired to understand stories that are driven by emotion and narrative and have a conclusion. We are driven by the drama that underpins human life. So that's story. We have a beginning, middle, and end. We have characters, we have drama, we have plot. And by the way, that's just a day in your life if you were to explain it to someone else. Now, my take on that, the innovation side of storytelling, is the opportunity for an innovator, someone who is breaking the rules, who is changing things. I'm talking about chief innovation officers, research and development teams, folks who are product managers who are bringing new things into the world. They not only have to tell the story of what the product is and what it does, But more than that, they have to paint a picture of the future that we can't see today. They have to be able to take us into the future, and not just that, they have to show us how our lives are transformed if we decide to follow them on that journey into the future. So if your listeners are people who are trying to change the status quo, to challenge things, to make life different and better for other people with the products and services that they are creating, then they need to take a lesson out of the page of innovation storytelling. Show us what the future looks like thanks to you.
So what do you say to the entrepreneur that's watching right now? It's like, oh man, that sounds cool, but I don't know how to tell stories, or I know stories are important. I can talk to my friends, but some reason when it comes to putting it into an email, it's a problem, or when it comes to talking through it on a video, there's a problem. My question to you is, what do you say to the person that says, I'm not trained to be a storyteller, I'm just trying to be an entrepreneur, I'm just trying to solve some problems? How can they use storytelling in their business? That's the question.
Yeah. So I love that the show is called The Happy Entrepreneur, because I can guarantee you that great stories lead to very happy customers, right? All of great storytelling begins with understanding that the listener is the hero of the story. The listener, not the storyteller, not the product, but the listener is the hero of the story. So imagine if all of your listeners could envision their customers as the hero of the story they want to tell. So if you think about whatever it is that you sell, whatever is your side hustle. I have a friend from Nigeria who says everyone in Nigeria has a 9 to 5 and a 5 to 9.
I like
so
that.
When you think about life in that 5 to 9, imagine that if every person you sat down to sell to would adopt that product and their life would change. Because that's what we're really here for, right, Che? You started off by saying we're here to change lives.
Yeah.
So imagine how your customer's life changes once they interact with the product or service that you're giving them. Can you paint a picture for them about how their life will be different? Because frankly, thanks to folks like Steve Jobs and Elon Musk and Bill Gates, the bar to entry now is not just, I'm going to make your life incrementally better. What we want to see is transformation. Tell me how my life is going to be transformed if I decide to do business with you. So paint a picture for me. How is my customer's life better now that I'm in it? That's question number one. How is my customer's life better once they begin interacting with me? The day they sign the contract, the day they start using the product, maybe it takes 3 to 6 months to see results on some of the things that your entrepreneurs here are dealing in. But paint a picture for me of how the customer's life is better. And one side note of that, it's not just about making their professional life better, but it's also making their personal life better. So for example, if I was selling security software, if I was selling a product that would keep me from worrying all night long, that would ensure that I got home at 5 o'clock to see my son's baseball game. If I was able to take a vacation with my wife for the first time in 5 years because the thing that you're selling actually frees them to live their best life, not just at work, but also at home, then you've created a transformation. Could you, like if you're selling a product or service to people in business, could you guarantee that that product or service would get them a raise or a promotion in the next 2 years? Could you think about how you're really impacting them on the personal and the professional level with what you're doing? That's the kind of transformation that you want to begin to show people. And that's how you tell a great story. It starts with them, not with you.
Well, you just gave a golden nugget. The story starts with them, not with you. For the person out there that got their pen and paper ready, and I would, because you're having a conversation with the one and only Susan over here. I'm going to ask her to share maybe 3 ideas. She gave one already, by the way, but don't worry. She has more, I'm sure. So she gave one, which the story starts with them. But I'm gonna ask her: is there a formula? Is there a 2 or 3 part steps that you can kind of share? And let's just get step one. And everyone is out there right now. I'm sure she would be okay with this. You can hit the share button. You can hit the watch party button. You can pay this message forward to another entrepreneur. So go ahead right now. Right now, hit the share button. Look below the video if you're watching live, and hit the watch party button. And when you hit that, just put add value with stories. And just put hashtag Susan Lindner. Just put add value with stories. Because what I'm hearing, you can add value to your clients by telling stories. So let's get at least one idea, but don't worry, I'm gonna ask for another 2. But one idea first that you'll share with us that we can use that can help us right now.
Yeah. So the very first step of great storytelling is great listening. So do we actually know where the pain is for our customers? Do we know where that lives? And so many times I find that fantastic entrepreneurs are so busy doing the great work of entrepreneurship that they don't stop and take a minute to find out exactly where, in New York we say, where our customer is bleeding from the neck. Where is the agony? Where is the pain point? Because your desire is to create that balm, that remedy that is going to make their life better, right? Adding to that. So the question becomes, what is happening right now in the world and what is happening right now with my customer that I am the only person who can fix it? Right? So where is that lane that you can enter that says, okay, I now understand you. Now I'm going to turn the tables and say, here's what life looks like on the other side of the fix. So step one is meet your customer with incredible empathy. Ask the questions and going, where is it hurting? Where is the pain? Because the story begins with that listener, the hero. So ask the pain question first. The other thing you want to find is, where is the common ground?
So step one, if I'm hearing it, someone put this right below the video. Step one is listen for where the pain is, the problem that they have. So you're not coming in there saying, well, I'm gonna tell the story about how great I am. You know, I don't know what you're gonna tell you. I'll ask her. Joe will ask her later about what type of stories. But first, listen for the pain. That's number one. All right. What's number 2? You were going into number 2.
So number 2 is find the area for transformation, right? So every great story arises in a particular context, a particular time and place. So what's happening right now? What's happening right now in your customer's time and place? Where are they in this moment, right? So great technologies, great stories, great opportunities arrive in a particular time and place. You want to get into the same space as your customer. So be clear about what is the context in which this need is arising. Because when you know that, then you begin to find a universal opportunity for that context, right? So chances are it's not just one customer who's experiencing that, it's happening to a broad range of people. So then once you know what that context is, now it's time to make the message. So find out the context and then begin to write the message. So that'll be step 3, and we'll talk about how to create the message. So find the pain, understand the context, and now it's time to create the message.
The fun stuff. Now, she didn't know she was going to do all this teaching, by the way, but I mean, we couldn't leave you hanging out there. You're probably thinking, wow, like, what's her secret way? Like what's something that she can share? And Susan's someone that we'll talk about that later that works with companies and works with organizations and also works with everyday entrepreneurs, just like me and just like you that's out there, by the way. And we're asking where all these stories go later on. But all right, so give us number 3. You're giving us three steps. Give us number 3.
Right. So the most important part, right, is that message. And this is where you say a context has arisen that's very specific and very right now. It may be COVID. It may be working from home. You may work on bigger issues like sustainability, or maybe you're making people more productive or helping them get more revenue, right? What is the context in which that arises? And you want to now point out what is the old way of doing things and what is the new way that you're introducing people to. That is a way that they cannot turn away from. And we call this showing them heaven. Show them what heaven looks like. And then when they know what the future is that they're stepping into, Now it's time, when you've painted that perfect picture of how life could be, then it's time, and only then, to bring your magic tools, that product, that service, whatever that thing is that's going to make life better for them. Once you've painted that clear picture of how life is going to change, then it's time to introduce them to your product or service. So make sure you take them all the way into that future. And so, you were talking about Noah getting started. I like the biblical references too. So you think about the transformation, the transition from going from an eye for an eye to turn the other cheek. That is disruption. That is innovation in a message, right? That says, we understand where we are. We know the prophet arose in a particular time and place. And by the way, all of your entrepreneurs are prophets here. They're the storytellers of our day.
Yes.
And now the time has come to say, we cannot do things the old way anymore. Because of the context that's arisen, I come bearing a new message. Life will be forever changed if we can work together. And I can show you what heaven looks like. And it only happens with this very last step, Mr. Customer, with my product or service.
What makes Susan unique and different is she's talking about storytelling, but she has this other desire and this other area of expertise, which is really PR and messaging. So you're seeing the dynamics come together while she's giving you the 1, 2, 3s of storytelling. That those stories that you're bringing together, they lead to some place. And she's saying, hey, this is for the customer. Take a moment, if you would, and share how someone can take the story now that you've given them how to do the story, and how can they use that? You talked about an example one-on-one with a customer, but how can they use that maybe if they got a podcast right now? Maybe if they're doing a Facebook Live, which is kind of popular right now. Maybe if they're doing Zoom master classes out there. Take a moment, talk about how they can use this in their everyday speaking, since you do speaking. And one of the things, she's a National Speaker Association, so she does speaking, so she can handle this question, which is a 3-part question, right? Storytelling, using it in my business, and Shay, I'm also weaving it into what I'm speaking. Yeah, talk about that if you would.
Yeah, so storytelling is the way that we connect. And, I think the false idea is that stories always have to be positive and uplifting, and we always have to talk about victory. Well, the reality is that as human beings, we actually connect at our vulnerability. We connect at failure. We connect at the places where we screw up, because that for sure is universal. All of us, not all of us have run a marathon, but certainly all of us have run really far and really fast, as hard as we could, and not crossed a finish line. So there are more of us who can connect at failure and hardship and discontent and missing the mark than we can at victory. So I would say to you, and frankly, that's the drama. Maybe that's step number 4 of what connects us, is we're not interested in hearing a story about I became an entrepreneur, and then I built a product and I sold it and it was phenomenally successful, and we never had a bad day of sales in our life, and then we sold it, or we went public, and boom, story over. Like, no one's interested in that story, frankly. 100% success equals 100% boring, and frankly, it doesn't really have a lot of credibility. Because there's one thing we know as entrepreneurs, we learn from the fall, and we learn from the resilience to get up and do it again. So the storytelling context takes life and gets exciting and juicy when you talk about the pain.
The pain.
Mm-hmm.
So as you talk about the pain, Corey Kupfer, I hope I got that right, Kupfer, he's out there watching, taking notes, by the way. Donna Hicks Iser, she's right there in New Jersey, by the way, right around the corner probably from you. She's out there watching. William Thomas is there. Mario Reynolds, it's always a pleasure. Monty's in the house. Chris Cheatham, who was on here just yesterday, by the way, in National Speaker Association with you, and so many folks that are tuning in right now. But the other folks are saying, well, Shay, this sounds great, but I'm curious. She seems perfect. Like, she's a PR person. She's now telling stories. She was speaking on stages. She's changed. Shay, was there ever a time in Susan's life where there was this pain for her? And what was the lesson she learned? Now, if she's perfect, Shay, she'll just tell you she's perfect. But if she's not, she'll share maybe an example that she feels comfortable sharing with you of something that didn't work well for her and the lesson she learned. So let's all tune in and listen.
Oh, I think we could dedicate 3 or 4 shows to all the failures in the process here. I mean, that is the life of entrepreneurship, right? So I can recall day 10 of my honeymoon. My spouse and I, we ran our business together, sitting in a hot tub in Greece when we got a fateful call from our office saying, President Bush has passed a piece of legislation making it illegal for 70% of our clients to do business in the United States. A new banking regulation had been passed, and with that, in one day, after just paying for a wedding and buying a new house, we lost 70% of our customers. And I still recall the waitress coming over to that hot tub and saying, more champagne? And we said, bring a bottle of tequila and don't come back. The process of going through that agony of watching everything that we had worked for dissipate and just evaporate in one phone call was heartbreaking. But we knew we had to go back and rebuild again. And that for us was a lesson in diversification. Don't have all of your clients in one industry or you're incredibly vulnerable. So the story we told ourselves thereafter is the way we gain strength is in diversity. And isn't that the lesson for the day, certainly? But that was certainly a failure or an opportunity to rebuild the business in a way that we hadn't thought possible before.
Wow, that is so cool. And I appreciate you sharing that message, being authentic, being the real person that you are. Just real quick on a different topic. Why do you do what you do? What do you enjoy most about what you're doing now?
So for me, the biggest agony, the biggest heartbreak is seeing great innovators create incredible products and they don't move. They don't succeed because the innovator is unable to tell a story that connects with the people who desperately need that thing that they've created. And so it's my mission in life to help innovators become better storytellers so that every innovation reaches its intended audience. That's my reason for being on the planet. And that's why I created innovation storytelling. Because most of the folks who are innovators, I mean, you can remember being back at school, the folks who really love science and math and technology and those folks, right? They never really made it over to the other side of campus where marketing and PR and communications and journalism lived. And so I'm trying to combine the peanut butter and the chocolate so that great innovation stories make it to the masses.
Man, that is super incredible. Thanks so much for sharing. You know, one of the core values that we have here, and for those folks that are out there, you can go ahead and hit the share button. Hit the watch party button right now. Pay this message forward to someone else. We believe in the giver's economy. The person that outgives the competition out-earns the competition. And Susan didn't ask for a Cash App payment before we got started. She didn't ask for a credit card. There was no swipe and succeed. She said, Shay, I'm just here to serve. Let's just go have some fun. And that's what we're doing. She didn't even give me any questions. I'm not required to do anything, but just have a conversation. This is so cool, by the way. So hit the share button. Hit the watch party button. And when you do, just put storytelling, add value with storytelling. And just put hashtag Susan Lindner. Go ahead and do that right now. Do that right now. Hit the share button right now. Susan, one of the core values that we have here at the Happy Entrepreneur Show is this core value that today is my January 1st. And for those folks that know what I'm about to do right now, you can look right below the video and you can write, today is my January 1st. And for those folks that are wondering what am I talking about, today is my January 1st represents one of those moments throughout the day, and there's so many moments, that you can make a decision and that decision could change the trajectory of your life. So you don't wait for January the 1st, what it says on the calendar. You create your January 1st moment. So it's a do-over. It's a fresh start. It's a rebirth. And so you either, for example, you make a decision, you're going to work out, like Susan said, walking all around the neighborhood, or you sit on the couch and you binge watch on Netflix, right? That's a January 1st moment. Or you make a decision, you're going to have some hamburgers and French fries and salt and pepper, of course. Got to have some ketchup on there, right? And French fries. Or you go to your refrigerator, you open up and you look inside and there's some spinach. There's some kale. Oh my gosh, this is good. That's a January 1st moment. So my question for Susan is, when you hear those words, today is my January 1st, what does it mean to you? What do you hear?
Oof. I feel like cracking open a new journal. Like when I hear you say that, that's like the best feeling in the world. And you're like rubbing down the pages and you got out a super new pen. I just bought a new 5-pack of different colored pens just to make it more exciting. But um, I love that idea. And I had a January 1st moment today. Tony Robbins kicked off a whole new called It's a Comeback moment.
Yeah.
And he's doing a 1 week long free Tony Robbins interactive event on Facebook. And it kicked off today and it was phenomenal. And I thought, new day, new start. Let's do this.
Yeah, that's certain. What was your January 1st moment? I know you had so many throughout your career as an entrepreneur, but what was the moment you decided that you were going to plant your flag, you was going to draw a line in the sand, and you were going to be an entrepreneur? Like this was going to work for you. It had to work. What was your January 1st moment?
Okay, so that never happened.
Mm-hmm.
That day to plant my flag, it sounded like this. Susan, I'm shutting down the agency. Would you like to buy a piece? Would you like to buy it from me? I said, I don't know how much. And my boss said, $1 million. I said, well, that's exciting because my paycheck is missing a couple of zeros. And he said, don't worry about it. Pay me $100,000 a year for the next 10 years. We'll be all set. I said, well, that's even more fascinating because I can't keep a boyfriend for 3 months and I don't intend to have you in my life at that price tag for the next 10 years. So I called my clients and said, how can I help you find a new PR agency? And they said, why don't you open your own and we'll follow you? And in my life, I never thought about having my own business until that moment. When I had the backing of the 10th largest bank in the company, an international venture capital firm, and a young startup out of New Jersey who said, go for it. Because I didn't even once think about being an entrepreneur. But it was 2002. 9/11 had happened. The internet boom had gone bust. And I said, why not? It's easier to start a business than it is to get a job right now. And I think I can do it. So out of my 4th floor walk-up apartment, that's when I planted my flag, August 19th, 2002.
Wow. Thanks so much for sharing. And folks that are excited right now that are saying today is my January 1st, just like they were excited back on December 31st after a couple of drinks, obviously on the back of a napkin, they started writing down these New Year's resolutions. And well, we know how that ended, right? For some of you ended really well. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to people like Shay Brown. So my question is, you've heard this phrase before that consistency is the key. Consistency is the key. Consistency is the key. But having said that, Susan, what do most people struggle with most? Well, consistency. So my question is for you, what do you share with your clients for them to be consistent, from the hashtag stay the course?
Yeah. I know what makes God laugh, but we got to make plans. So even if for most entrepreneurial companies, you are going so fast that putting a 1-year plan in place is ridiculous. And frankly, it's obsolete by month 6. So I tried to do 1-year plan with a big goal at the end of the year and then really tight quarterly plans. So if I can plan out just 12 weeks at a time, right, then I can keep us on track. I don't have to always pushing to the big, hairy, audacious goal every day. I need to watch the path unfold and plan accordingly. So my goal is to say, where can I be in 12 weeks? Where can I be in 12 weeks? I don't have to kill myself as entrepreneurs about that year goal. I want to have it, but I don't live by that. I live by my 12-week year.
The 12-week year. I love it. I love it. So, so important. How can folks best connect with you? Folks that are listening right now, they probably have 2 questions in their head. At least I would. Number 1, what type of clients do you work with? And number 2, how can they just best connect with you?
So, Che, I have a confession to make. I have an addiction. I'm addicted to working with startups. I'm a mentor in 7 different accelerators of international companies come from around the world who want to set up businesses in New York, and I help all of them with their messaging for the US market. Can't tell you how gratifying it is to help startups make their way in a place where English isn't even their native language. So let me tell you how much easier it is doing that with folks who are already here. So I've been working with startups and entrepreneurs for 20 years now. And this is my heart. So they can connect with me by going to susanlindner.com. That's Susan, LINDNER.com, and check me out there. And there you'll see all of my stage work, but also consulting and coaching work to help people with their messaging and to make an impact on the audiences whose lives they want to change.
I love it. You probably had a number of mentors throughout your journey of life, I'm sure. If you could pick one lesson from any of the mentors that you learned, I know that's so difficult to do, but you've got to do it, and share that with us that we can walk away with. What's one of the lessons from one of your mentors you would pass to us?
Yeah. So, and not directly, but I guess from the beyond, I hear Steve Jobs said something really impactful to me. He asked the question of his team, who is the most valuable person in the room? And he said the most valuable person in the room is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, the mission, and creates a pathway for everyone else to follow. And I think as entrepreneurs, we have to, whether we want to or not, assume the role of the storyteller so that others may follow us, so that others can see our vision and realize it with us. So I'm encouraging, in fact, I'm challenging all of your listeners to be the best storytellers they can be so that others can follow.
What does success look like for you these days?
Success would look like tacos and a margarita at a restaurant out that is served to me. That would be fantastic. But success for me today is about creating this innovation storytelling revolution. It would mean that no innovation would perish because people couldn't understand it. So that would be success. My day-to-day success is connecting with as many great innovators as possible.
Wow. You talk about storytelling a lot, and I'm just curious, what's a book that you may have read or a movie you may have seen that kind of impacted your life? And I'm sure inside there's a story why, but I'm just curious, what pops top of mind to you?
So Joseph Campbell was really the first person as an historian, as a theologian, to really understand. It's called the power of myth. And he identified all of the archetypes of the hero's journey and how we take this quest that each of us go on every day in our lives, but also it also tracks perfectly to the life of our customers and the people that we want to serve. So Joseph Campbell, The Power of Myth, is a phenomenal, phenomenal book. And if you're looking for other great books on storytelling, easy how-to guides, one of my colleagues in the National Speakers Association, Kendra Hall, she wrote a great book called Stories That Stick. And it's an easy how-to guide to quickly create a story for whatever it is you're working on, your personal narrative, your entrepreneurial journey, how to get the customer involved, and even how to create great partnerships. So I definitely recommend Kendra's book as well.
Ah, man, that's super incredible. What do you do for fun, by the way, when you're not out saving the world, saving these entrepreneurs, these startups that you have a big heart for and a passion and addiction to? What does Susan do for fun?
I do stand-up comedy for fun, Jay. Well, for fun.
Are you serious?
And for torture, it is the scariest thing in the world. The sensation of standing on a stage with just your material feels like being on a roller coaster while standing still. One night you tell a great set of jokes, the whole room is cracking up. Another night it's crickets. And that is my test every day, or every time I get on stage, of building up my resilience.
What made you want to go do stand-up comedy? I mean, I'm just curious. It seems, okay, the storytelling, this PR, this branding, just working, traveling around, and I know you've spoken to 60 countries. I know you've ridden a motorcycle through 2 countries. You've done some amazing things. Why comedy? What in the world were you thinking about?
It's terrifying, but there is no greater feeling in the world than making someone laugh. Right. There's nothing better in the world than that. And bringing your own tiny little quirky view of the world to other people, and they go, I get it. I get you. And it makes me laugh. Well, I mean, there's no better feeling in the world than that.
Wow. So how do you expand your comfort zone? I mean, how do you take action when it may be uncomfortable? I mean, this has nothing to do with storytelling, but I'm just curious, like, how do you take action? Some folks might be saying, that sounds good, but that's a little scary, Shay, and I have a difficult time just taking the action. What's your motivation behind that? What's your secret formula for being able to do that on a consistent basis in different levels of your business?
Well, there's a couple of ways. Number one, you can feel the hot breath of competition on your neck in New York City, pretty much anywhere. I know in my office building, there were 7 PR firms in my building. So I could feel my competition in my elevator every morning going to work. So competition is one thing. Number two is reaching a personal best, setting a goal for yourself, and then finding a way to meet it. So having fewer nights of crickets and more nights of laughter, that's a pretty good indicator. I tape record myself. I go back and I listen to the set. Where did the people laugh? Where does the joke need to go next? And the last thing is I ask people to challenge me. So that stand-up opportunity, I had just come back from a trip and I had tried to do some things that really terrified me. I have a terrible fear of heights and I did a zip line. And then I survived. I learned that no one can hear you screaming at 1,000 feet. And even if you keep screaming, you'll lose your voice by the end. But I came back from that trip and my husband said, that sounds like an 8th grader's trip to Costa Rica doing a zip line. He's like, why don't you try something more terrifying? And he gave me a pass to a class to learn stand-up. So having people around you who challenge you to be better than you are is an incredible motivation to keep trying new things and to keep striving.
I admire that most about you, man. You're truly amazing. Tell the folks once again, how can they best connect with you?
Yes. So you can follow me certainly on Facebook, Susan Lindner, on Twitter, Susan Lindner EM, that's emerging media for our agency business, or you can come to susanlindner.com. And I would just like to extend to folks in the audience, if they want to reach out to me over LinkedIn, just shoot me a little message, connect with me. I would be happy to chat with you about your own story and how we can make it better for your audience and help make your audience the hero.
Make your audience a hero. I love it. Well, let me first say thank you so much for being on the Happy Entrepreneur Show. You have a heart to give. You have a heart to serve. You're truly amazing. And storytelling is something that's needed every single day, and just about every single conversation. And you're helping folks like me and others as entrepreneurs be able to do it. But what I like about it is you do it authentically. She didn't say you had to try to be someone you're not. People have a phony meter and they can tell when you're being phony. So she's talking about how you can speak from the heart and be yourself. And isn't that what you want at the end of the day, to really be authentic? So let me say thank you so much. I know that you agreed early on. Ladies and gentlemen, she agreed early on to really give her final thoughts. And that is so cool. So I'm going to go ahead again and say thank you. We got to have you back on the Happy Entrepreneur Show. I want to turn over to you to have your final thoughts, your final comments to empower, inspire folks that are listening, because these fiber optic lines are going to go off, okay? These lights will no longer be here, and they've got to go back and do what they have to do best, which is make it happen for themselves and for the people they were called to serve. So once again, thank you so much. Over to you, Susan Lindner, for your final thoughts.
The greatest power you have lives with the connection of the people that you speak with. So put away the PowerPoints, put away the lofty statistics and all the other things, and connect with people from the place where they connect with you, from the heart. And one other thing I'll say is the greatest story that you can tell is the one that moves. So tell your story in a way that people can not only remember and internalize, but that it can share. So practice your story on people around you so that when they speak it, they can turn to the friend next to them and say, you'll never believe what I just heard. I just heard the greatest story of my life, because that's the one that gets shared.
Wow. Well, once again, thank you so much. For those folks that are watching right away, you can go and hit the share button. You can hit the share button right now. You can hit the watch party button. You can pay this message forward. When you hit the share button, just go ahead and write those words. Add value with storytelling. # Susan Lindner. I want you to know, as you're watching right now, that you are amazing, that you've got greatness inside you, and that today is your January 1st. You can tell your story. Today is your January 1st. You can focus on a client. You can show them heaven, because it does exist. Today is your January 1st. You can connect and be authentic. And for you, the best is still yet to come. The best is yet to come. The best is yet to come. With that being said, by the way, my name, for those who know who's doing all that screaming, who's doing all that yelling, my name is Shay Brown, the happy entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. And I promise you from the bottom of my heart, we'll make some good things happen. We connect again next time. Remember, time is long. Life is short. Live in the moment and make it count. God bless, and we wish you success. Peace, and we're out of here. Thanks a lot. We appreciate you. We'll see you all real soon. Bye-bye. Promise I made to my mom. I only did this message for one person, and that's my mom. This is for you, Mom. Love you. My name is Shay Brown, the happy entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Shay Brown. Check, my check. All I do is win, no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up. Yes. Yeah. And they stay there. And they stay there, and they stay there. Cause all I do is win. Yeah.
Thank you. God bless.